that story to bring you the very latest from BART headquarters. Let's listen in.
Also the president.
And Josie Mooney and others here are talking, so we're taking you live. Let's go.
ATU, and George Popiak, who is the vice president of AFSCME and negotiating on behalf of AFSCME. So on behalf of SEIU, I want to announce that the governor has requested a 7-day board of inquiry or board of investigation. We want to say that we have been here for the last 24 hours, and we only got a very regressive proposal from BART in the last 45 minutes. We're extremely disappointed at their continued posturing, their continued negotiations, which are in very bad faith, their continual failure to address a single safety proposal on behalf of the union. And I want to ask my president, Roxanne Sanchez, to make a comment on behalf of SEIU.
We heard from the mayor of San Francisco just a few days ago how it was unnecessary to keep the public on pins and needles, and it's absolutely true. There was no reason why we had to continue this drama, continue this stress on the public and on the workforce. It is so discouraging, but we do appreciate the governor's concern, and we will, unfortunately, it takes our attention away from the bargaining table because now we have to put together a case to present before the Board of Inquiry. So, I don't know how much it does for the bargaining table, but perhaps this will shed the light on just exactly what we've been trying to tell you, the press, and the public, that this employer has bargained without good faith. We created the first strike, and it was eminently creating the second one. Thank you.
What does this mean in terms of
we want to have everybody be able to make a statement, please.
On behalf of ATU, I'm Antoinette Bryant, for the President Business Agent of ATU, Local 1555. We are extremely disappointed that this even has to happen. From the very onset, we have said that we did not want to disrupt the riding public. This did not have to occur. The Board of Inquiry did not have to occur. If the district would come to the table and bargain with us in full and good faith for a fair and equitable contract, none of this would be necessary. The governor would not have had to get involved. The public's worries would not have been even necessary. We are very disappointed that at this juncture, we do not have a contract. Our members deserve it. The riding public deserves it. Of course, we are going to go into the Board of Inquiry with everything that we have to prove that from the onset, we have come with full and fair, equitable, reasonable proposals that should have been agreed to June 30th. Not today, but June 30th. It is disappointing that our members, they're here representing the rest of our workers. They are here. We're here to let the public know we are going to continue to do what we need to do to get a fair contract, but it's disappointing that this even had to happen because this could have been resolved 35 days ago.
Do we have a strike? Is a strike going on?
No, we have a cooling off that the governor called today. We have mixed feelings. I share both Antoinette's and Josie's opinion that this should have been resolved long ago. We've got the public on pins and needles for another who knows how long. We've got the Board of Inquiry. We went through this, for example, in 2001, where we had the Board of Inquiry, then we had the long cooling off period, and we had the drumbeat strike looms. People don't deserve that. We're happy that they won't be disrupted tomorrow, but the anxiety of what's going to happen next, and it puts it back into even a more difficult period of time for people in 30 days, 60 days, whatever. It's regrettable, but it's also regrettable that there hasn't been a settlement.
How long will the trains run?
The trains will run until the cooling off period stops.
It's not a cooling off period. We have to make that very clear. This is only a 7-day Board of Inquiry.
Yeah.
At that time, there's going to be a review of all relevant facts germane to the contract situation and everything that's gone on. After that 7-day board, the 5-member 7-day board convenes, there will be a determination made at that time. Then we'll know what's going on. So right now we're looking at 7 days once the panel is convened.
What kind of determination, though? I mean, what
we have no way of knowing what that determination will be. We will go there and present the facts of what we will represent as our full and fair bargaining.
So
can that board take over the negotiating?
Not negotiating.
Too many questions.
Can that board then determine what kind of contract there should be going forward?
They will determine whether or not there is reason to extend the period to a 60 or a 30 or 60-day cooling off period. That's it, and that's all for them.
At some point, you have to come back and deal with BART and do this again?
Got to deal with the
Yes,
issues.
we have a contract that we need to bargain.
And
So
we
is
are
bargaining stopped
asking
for
on
now?
the
We're not
asking
stopping.
on the lieutenant governor's help. We're going to be asking on the controller's help to come in, do an audit. We're going to ask for the lieutenant governor's leadership. Anybody that can come over here and help and prevent the kind of conflict that we've seen that's so unnecessary.
Absolutely.
So for the next 7 days, there will be no negotiations between you and BART.
For the next 7 days, there can be, but unfortunately, all parties must present their case. So you can see that we will be also involved in getting our case ready to present to the Board of Inquiry.
But all trains will be running normally.
Everything
For the next
runs
7
tomorrow
days,
morning.
yes, sir. And that's the only good thing out of this, is
So
that the
you guys
public
gonna have
has
to go to
trains.
Sacramento for that?
It'll be here.
It'll be here.
So I imagine that these are questions for the governor's office, but I imagine he will move on it immediately.
Did this happen at your request then?
Look, at our request has been that the employer comes to the table and bargain fairly and get a contract, and that has not happened. And I think that, I don't want to speak on behalf of the governor, but I think he has seen that this is going nowhere. We waited 22 hours since last night at 10 o'clock to get a counter proposal on our economic proposal. 22 hours on the eve of a strike. I think the governor saw that there is not the leadership on the employer side to reach an agreement.
And we think the governor also recognized the serious imposition on the riding public if this were to transpire. So it shows that he has some leadership, and he has a vested interest in the Bay Area and the riders, as we do.
Was Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Was he representing the governor's office then today?
I don't want to speak on behalf of the lieutenant governor or the governor, but I do know that the lieutenant governor has a very deep concern for what's going on here with BART. He has a very deep concern with the impact on the community and the riding public, and I think he showed his concern by coming down here today, and I know that him and the governor are going to be working on this together, and I appreciate everything up to this point, and I think that the public can rest at least that their trains are going to be running, but unfortunately, as Mayor Lee said, they remain on pins and needles, and that's very unfortunate.
Is there precedent for this action?
In terms of this Board of Inquiry,
Yeah.
it has and is discretion of the governor.
2001, we had the same identical situation, and we had the Board of Inquiry, and we had the then cooling off. I believe it was 60
Settled
days.
Labor Day.
Yeah.
Can you explain to riders again just what this means?
It
what the
means that
inquiry
there
means?
will be a Board of Inquiry established to determine whether or not to extend the cooling off period.
Who will
For
be on
the
that
riding
board? Who's sitting on
public,
that board?
that's the
That's to be
governor.
convened by
Governor.
the governor.
Well,
We
what
don't make
happens
that
during
determination.
the Board of Inquiry, just to explain it to viewers.
What happens during?
What happens during the process?
Well, the board
All
will
three
be
unions
established.
present their facts on the contract dispute, what's going on. They hear it, they make a determination on how to proceed.
Yeah.
It's not like a hearing, though, right?
Yes, it is like a
Yes,
hearing.
it absolutely
Yes.
is a
So
hearing.
do they find fault then?
We don't know what they're going to
What if
find.
they
We're
do
just going to
that?
present
What
our
about the
information.
But what they find is whether, I mean, what they're looking for is whether or not to extend this and make it a longer cooling off period. Whether or not the parties have the ability to reach an agreement. And as Roxanne said, I mean, the evidence that we experienced and they did today was that it was just a waste of time. And it was the eve of a strike. I mean, this was when we should have been locked into some final positions and get everything on the table and get it resolved. And that was not happening. So the issue now is they're going to try and determine how long it's going to take for BART to get serious.
Do you know when you will first make an appearance to fight your case within?
Within 7 days now.
No.
How would you characterize the proposal you received from BART tonight?
I think Roxanne said it best. It was regressive.
Our chief negotiator, Josie Mooney, explained to you that it was a regressive proposal, meaning there were components of that proposal that were worse than their last proposal, which is, by the fair, an unfair labor practice. That's what it really amounts to.
So wait, say that again. So this included provisions that were worse than their prior
That's
offer?
correct.
Tell me a little bit about some of that.
Well, I don't, the details of that. I think the public is more concerned about, in generally, that the fact is that for the next 7 days, the trains will run. There will be no lockout. There will be no strike. The governor has asked for a board of inquiry to look at whether or not a 60-day cooling off period is necessary. And we have asked the Lieutenant Governor, along with the Governor and the Controller, to look into this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone leaves now. This is done for tonight.
Okay, what you have just heard was that there will be no strike tonight. That's because there will be a board of inquiry convened to look at fair or unfair labor practices in this strike. Apparently that's what the union is saying, at least. And at the end of that 7-day period, they will decide whether or not there will be reason to have a 60-day cooling off period. So at this point, it looks like for tomorrow, as far as riders are concerned, the trains will be running. In 7 days, we'll know what happens then. And back to you.
All right, Don, I know it's kind of hard for you to hear me because they're getting loud there, but any sense that BART, their team of negotiators, have they left, or do you expect to hear from them tonight?
We haven't heard from the BART negotiators tonight. The only thing we heard was what we heard earlier from Thomas Hawk, who said that he was taking a proposal back to BART to have them consider it. So, as I've said all along, we don't know exactly what's been going on inside the meetings. We only know what's going on outside, and often that is couched in terms to make us think a certain thing. We were thinking they were making progress. Tonight we saw everything fall apart. So it looks like they've reached an impasse. It looks like there might have been a strike without the intervention of the governor. At this point, though, that strike is off. The trains will run, and in 7 days they'll decide whether that'll continue for a 60-day cooling off period.
All right. Don Epp, thank you very much. So again, to reiterate, for commuters, the news is the trains are running as scheduled, but it's back to the bargaining table at some point for both sides because there's been no resolution to this case.